Welcome, everyone. This is Jordan Jankus over at the ARC Westchester. If this is your first time here, Tech Ambassadors is a way for us to focus on the practical things that we can do with personal, everyday technology. The world has changed so much over the last 10 years. And for any of you out there that don't know it, this is the 10th year of the iPad's deployment. So when you think of what assistive technology used to be like pre 2010 and where it is now, it's much more affordable, much more pervasive. Everyday devices that we have, our smartphones, our tablets, they can do so much more for us. Plus, they're not as stigmatizing as some of the older devices. So we've been doing this for a couple of years. We have lots of resources. We would always like to hear from the folks out there that have been using tech. Please share your personal experiences. I would love to hear from you. We can all learn from each other. Since the crazy COVID-19 crisis, we've been going through a lot of changes at the agency as far as the delivery of our services. And we created a new page that I encourage you to take a look at. It's called Learning Resources for Our Community. And it's available to anyone, whether you're from ARC Westchester or outside of ARC Westchester. It's free and it has information on advocacy, virtual explorations of the world, things that'll lift your spirit, health, including we have our nutritionists doing weekly cooking lessons, and we have a reading section, and another staff person has started doing a serialized reading of The Hobbit. We have art on the site and lots of activity ideas from our staff and from a couple of other ARC chapters around the country. We all need new ideas to deliver our day services, our residential services, to keep lifelong learning going. So please, check it out. The URL is right on the screen, and let us know what you think about it. And if you have resources that you would like to share, that would be great. This is a crisis that nobody anticipated, and it's really created some strains on our traditional delivery model. So we're trying to come up with other ways to reach people. We're absolutely delighted to welcome our speaker for the day, Ashley DePiano from Tobii Dynavox, and she's got a great topic to talk about, AAC in the workplace.
All right. Well, thank you for having me here today. I'm very excited to be presenting this topic. It's very important to get this out there. I'm going to be talking about AAC, or augmentative and alternative communication in the workplace. What happens when an individual leaves the school for vocational opportunity, and exactly how you can support the transition. I am going to be talking about 2 communication strategies for maintaining social interaction in the workplace, identify types of behavior supports that can be incorporated into a device, and discuss 3 different communication options that are available for individuals to utilize within their AAC system. So how many of you are home with another working family member or child today? How many of you have been talking to your new colleague between work sessions? Give me an idea of some of the things maybe you've discussed with today with this person. Maybe what was for breakfast, or who was going to get the children ready for their day. I would assume that for most of us, this is not a typical workday, but given the particular scenario, we've already compiled quite a list of things that we would communicate with our coworkers. So how might these conversations vary during a typical workday? Think about if you're talking to a superior, you might have a different tone than if you're talking to your cubicle buddy. So we're going to talk about those types of things. Workplace communication. There are 4 primary functions to communication in the workplace. These are things that can be communicated in various ways: verbal, written, email, video conference, etc. And we can expect that these basic workplace communication factors will vary from job to job. For example, if you work in HR, you'll probably need more communicative skills that provide information or control, communicating regulations, policies, etc. If you manage a team or run your own business, you'll likely have a greater focus on motivation. Do you feel like anything is missing from this list? I think I can point to 2 different things. When you think of communications with your coworkers or colleagues, you might need to add social interactions. When we're setting up a system for a user that needs one, we have a bad habit of only focusing in on the first four, but really we need to focus on social interactions a little bit more. Though everyone's needs will differ depending on where you work and who you work with, today I'm going to focus on a few basic concepts that can help us to support social interaction in various settings, supporting communication independence, asking partner-focused questions, and mastering small talk. So for today's session, I'm going to be taking a look at examples of these methods within the context of our program called Snap Core First and Communicator 5 software. We do offer other options, but for this presentation, this is the most up-to-date software that we have, and I'm just going to focus on individuals that could benefit from the use of symbols to communicate. So I'm just going to show you a short video of our Snap Core First software. This is our program called Snap Core First. We have our core words for your core vocabulary.
I want more. I want more.
You have quick fires for quick greetings or interjections, small talk.
Yes. Hey, come here.
And then we have our topics for context specific. So we have, for example, group work.
Let's work as a team. I don't know what we are doing. That is a good idea.
There's even a specific topic for small talk.
It's nice to meet you. It's still too early. This is going to be a great day.
But I think quick fires is going to meet most of the needs we'll be discussing today. Let's take a look at number 1, communication independence. When I say communication independence, that typically means you want to say what you want, when you want, and how you want it. So this can incorporate many of the items that we mentioned: device access, literacy skills, available vocabulary, ability to navigate the device, and maintaining appropriate social behavior. So we need to take the time to make sure appropriate vocabulary, both formal and informal, are included in communication systems, as well as vocabulary to support strategic needs such as missing words or misunderstood messages. Because these are things that happen in speaking individuals' lives, but we need to make sure that anyone that needs a different access method has this available to them as well. In addition to providing vocabulary to communicate strategic needs, our program Snap Core First also has an added benefit for those who may need additional support engaging in appropriate social behavior in the workplace. Typically, we have seen various positive behavior supports as low-tech visual solutions. These supports can be photographs, drawings, objects, written words, or lists that help us communicate with an individual who has difficulty understanding or using language. Visual supports help the individual to engage, complete tasks, transition, and increase independence with task completion. Now, an interesting fact is that adults with cognitive impairments lose their jobs more often for reasons having to do with lack of social awareness than for character, temperament, or non-social reasons. So that's the reason why we have to give them behavior supports for social interactions so that they are acting socially appropriate and they don't risk losing their jobs over it. So we have first, then types of supports in our software systems. You can communicate a sequence of events, reinforce completion of a mundane activity, assist with any type of transition, break down a large schedule or sequence of events into smaller steps. And then we also have our task analysis or mini schedule, as I like to call it. So I like to refer this as a step-by-step mini schedule or an inactivity schedule. So this is a strategy for increasing independence with task completion by breaking the task into manageable parts or steps. So consider which components of a task the individual may complete unsupported to determine which steps to target. Even presumably inherent steps of a task such as close the register or say hello could be included. And the best way to figure out what needs to be included in these is to You work with the individual and see where maybe they're struggling during their workday. So maybe they need a mini schedule based on certain activities in their job. We also have social stories, which provide a script for the individual about social situations and different expectations. So the story is written from the individual's perspective, kind of walking them through the task at hand or what they may have to do for the day. So this layout also works well for providing practice scripts for individuals to rehearse or utilize in interactions with typically known outcomes. So for example, if they have to get to their job, sit at a desk, turn on the computer, maybe interact with customers, you can have those different types of things on the social story just to give them that extra input of this is what I'm going to be doing today. Now, a contingency map is very useful, especially in users that may turn to undesirable behaviors based on a certain outcome. So it's basically a visual depiction that shows the desired behavior and the outcomes of two divergent paths. So the green path, as you can see here, is one where the individual engages in the desired behavior. So when they are checking out, they scan, they put it in the bag, they get their prize. The other one shows what happens if they don't engage. So if they smash the groceries, then your supervisor will be angry. So a schedule can really help prevent any challenging behaviors that might occur due to anxiety around transitions within disruptions to an expected schedule. And all of this can be easily edited, customized to pretty much any work experience. And that's why it's very important to take a look at the user system and really figure out what they may have trouble with and what they may need those extra reinforcements for. So I have a little video showing that.
I'm going to show you some examples of positive behavior support, which can be very helpful for an individual. So for example, let's find our desk work topic and we'll go into supports. Now we have our desk work visual.
I have a few things to do. I need to sit at my desk. I'll be here until I'm done. Thank you for your help.
This is just a reminder of what's going to be going on. Then we have following directions. What should we be doing at work?
First, click on Next. Open the book. Then, follow the directions on the page. Last, look up at the teacher when done.
So this might be more in a classroom setting, but you can change it to make it anything you want. And let's say, for example, for a break, we do have a visual timer, so you can change this to be anything you want, but this is a really nice place to put the timer so that, and it also counts down over here so they know, okay, I have 5 minutes and then I get back to work.
So remember, positive behavior supports are about being proactive, mainly about prevention. So preventing a challenging behavior from occurring in the first place. But the thing is, we have to teach communication that will replace the behavior. So access to communication needs to be efficient, especially in highly emotional situations where a user may be tempted to use behaviors instead of communications. So we have to provide access to these supports in all environments and overall empower the individual to get their needs met in a new and better way than exhibiting any type of challenging behavior. I like to think of small talk as active listening. And for AAC users, they need to master the art of using conversation fillers. So we use conversation fillers as speaking individuals, and that's how our communication partner knows that we're interested, knows that we're paying attention. But oftentimes, if an individual has trouble speaking, the conversation is very one-sided, and then the communication partner has trouble seeing that they are very interested in what you're saying. They just need to learn how to have that back and forth of a conversation. So, you know, something like, that's awesome, or great, come on, or wow, really cool, or no way. Those are things that people use in conversation to let your partner know that you are listening. So I'm going to switch a little bit, and we're going to talk about the role of the communicator in these situations, and also the role of educators, therapists, caregivers, friends, etc. So if the individual is in an education environment, so this is where it will be very important when doing a transition to the workplace. If they are in an education environment that has never used their device, has never worked on customizing their device, has never really taught them how to use their device, then it would be extremely hard for them to jump into a vocational opportunity that is requiring them to use their device in a variety of situations. So the important part is for people working with the individuals to teach them navigation skills and develop motor memory to foster independence, because they aren't going to be in a school setting at their job. And a lot of times their boss may not really know anything about their device or how to help them work with it. And you need to have them be as independent as possible so they can do it on their own.
Can I just ask a quick question about that? You know, just like watching Sheldon on that clip that you had, there's so much of communication is also looking at the person and getting the reaction. So if somebody is looking at their device, typing in a question or something like that, I imagine they would have to pause to see what the reaction of the other party they're talking to in order to make it a real back and forth kind of thing.
Yes, absolutely. And the good thing to do is in that situation, a lot of times people that have never worked or been with anyone that uses a device, they don't really understand how to interact, or, there's a lot of wait time involved. So if someone's typing something on their device, it can be uncomfortable for the other person because they don't know that they should be waiting. They don't know that they're trying to type in a message. So I always suggest having, maybe on the main screen of a user's device, having a button that has a little bit of information like, hey, it's nice to meet you. Just so you know, I use this device to talk. Please be patient with me. I'm formulating sentences, something to that effect, so that the other person knows that they are paying attention. And then you can also teach them, when you're done with your device, you need to look up and see what the other person's reaction is, because that's how we have a two-sided conversation.
That's very helpful.
Good question, though. Yeah, another thing is to verify that the appropriate vocabulary is present. So we need to work on formal and informal. And this is definitely very easy to overlook, especially when you're working with a literate individual who may be able to type out messages. So we don't put pre-programmed phrases on there. But like you were saying before, like that, if you have to type out a full message, sometimes that can be a very long and arduous process. And then the flow of the conversation, it doesn't go well when it takes you a few minutes to create your thought, when you can have pre-programmed phrases that will make the back and forth a little bit more of a normal speed. Definitely use pre-programmed vocabulary whenever possible, and use the scripts and the things that are available in there, just so things that they do on a regular basis is already ready for them. So remember our 5 primary functions to workplace communication. Well, we're going to be focusing more right now on social interactions, formal and informal. So first thing is, when thinking of setting up messages in the context of workplace communication, we do need to include both of these messages. I'm certain that if you think about the difference in vocabulary and tone in a board meeting versus chatting with a colleague around the coffee pot or interacting with a customer, it's easy to think of some differences we'll need to consider. For example, maybe the titles, sir or ma'am or miss versus nicknames or given names, and even slang versus proper English. So those are things that you want to consider. The conversation does flow way better if you're using the appropriate vernacular. So nowadays, for most individuals in the workplace, it also is very important to consider the various different communication means available. So this can be challenging to navigate, but it also allows for more opportunity for the user and alternative access users in the workplace. I don't know about you, but if you asked me 10 years ago how much technology I'd use in my daily work life, I don't think I would have guessed that I'd be using technology for this presentation, let alone the daily video conferences, text messages, emails, document sharing, all that kind of stuff. as overwhelming as it can be, for those who like their daily lives immersed in technology for communication and access, this ever-evolving tech means greater access to and greater need for these same tools used by everyone else. Simple things like emails, an individual that may have motor disabilities, they can't use their hands to use a computer like you and I would. So if you think about things like that, how are they accessing their emails, or how are they sending text messages? So at Tobii Dynavox, we have software that uses eye gaze and different types of technology where they can use different methods. And I have a little video to show that after. So we have in our softwares, you can make phone calls, chat through emails, text messaging, Facebook, all using different access methods. You can use your eyes, you can use a mouse on your head that points to the screen. So pretty cool things. So I'm going to show you a short video of one of our users that technology has really changed his life in the workplace. I'll tell you a little bit about Michael. Michael was injured in a diving accident and uses the PCI Plus IR for computer access environmental control. So even though he's still able to speak, I think his access solutions are an excellent example of the tools that are available to maintain employment, both for those who are using alternative access, as well as those who are dealing with progressive diagnoses like ALS. In fact, for individuals who are trying to maintain employment and communication access while dealing with declining motor control, it is recommended that you find a solution that can meet their needs at all stages of the disease progression to make it an easier transition for them.
Friends and family mean the world for me. They obviously keep me going in down times. It makes a huge difference having somebody, they know you inside and out. It's very nice to still have somebody around that I've known so long. I wouldn't consider this easy, but it's only as easy as it is because of people around me sticking by me. I'm a civil engineer in South East London, and Tobii makes a huge difference to my everyday life. Mainly just the freedom and independence to do all my banking, all my social media, all my work by myself without having someone sat next to me the whole time. The new eye tracker is great. It basically follows my eye movements and allows me to control the computer just using my eyes. The new system also has the more accurate cameras. They've now got environmental controls. From brushing my teeth to eating dinner, I need somebody helping me. When I come to work, I sit down and for 8 hours, I'm in control. I always said if I regain my legs, the first thing I do is go out swimming. Then the freedom of getting out uninhibited would be beautiful. It was a split-second decision, which unfortunately went wrong for me. And yeah, it could have turned my life upside down and kept me in the gutter. But with the support from friends and family and the innovation of technology, I can live life to the full and having a really good time along the way.
So the great thing in this world is not so much where we are, but what direction we're going. And that's how I'm going to end this presentation. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me today and envision the possibilities of what individuals communicating with AAC can accomplish, given the tools to succeed and also the caregivers and friends and family to help them.
Okay, well, thanks so much, Ashley. It was a great presentation. I deal a lot with some of the staff at our agency that support individuals in the workplace. when we have a situation where someone is at a job and they have a procedure that they do, and then all of a sudden next week they change it, is it difficult to make modifications to the set phrases, set schedules? Because it's not like a static thing. Month after month, they're doing the same thing.
Right. So not in our system. So Snap Core First is like our main software that we use right now. We had a couple softwares in the past where it was a little bit harder. It took a little bit more of a technology know-how to edit things, which Snap Core First is very simple. Everything is done via the edit button. So everything is kind of in one spot. So let's say something does change, it can be easily changed if someone just knows how to edit that page or that topic. And that's why it's also important for the communication partners to know how to use the system. We have a lot of videos and different types of learning tools to learn about that.
One other question I had was, when somebody has a device, what sort of training do they get as far as using this system? And if they have questions down the road, what kind of supports do you have at Tobii Dynavox?
Yeah, good question. So when a user gets a device, they get an initial setup meeting. So we go out, we do the setup, we do the training to the caregivers. We like to have, you know, the SLP, the caregivers, anyone that's really going to be working with the individual there so that they can learn how to use the device. And that's the initial training. And then, you know, we do offer kind of another training down the road. So let's say 2 to 5 months later, maybe you played around with it, but there's certain features you're like, okay, I wish I could get a little more training on that feature. We'll come out again, or we'll do a remote training, and I can log in and I can like basically remotely control the device, so I can show anyone watching how to use it, which is a really cool feature. So that's the types of in-person training they get. But then like for ongoing training, Tobii Dynavox has an awesome YouTube channel. We also have a learning hub, which is learn.tobiidynavox.com. And it has tons and tons and tons of videos just on all of our softwares, different types of things. I mean, basically that's how I learned how to use all of the software. When I first started with Tobii, was I just went to the Learning Hub and I watched all of the videos, and you can get a really good feel for each of the software that you're using, how to edit, how to do some pretty advanced types of things.
Okay, great. We have one question that came in from the audience. Are there any device adaptations for a visually impaired non-vocal team for communication and independence?
Yes, so we do have switch access. So there's 2 different ways you can go about that. It kind of depends on the visual impairment. So if the visual impairment is not significant, maybe they can still see shadows or outlines. We have a page set that is high contrast. So a Snap Core First page set, it has all the same buttons that it would in a regular page set, but it just has high contrast buttons. They have a dark outline on them. They're very, very visible. So that's one option. But then another option is if they really have a pretty significant visual impairment, we have switch scanning that will require the use of a switch, which can be either controlled by the user's hand or the user's head, or, you know, we've had feet switches. You could pretty much place it anywhere. And then the page set will essentially just scan either across or down, and you can set it up any way that the user feels comfortable. So it'll go across and speak the words, and then when the user wants them, they hit their switch and it'll speak.
This has all been very, very helpful. I appreciate all your time. I hope your family stays safe, and I hope everybody out there also stays safe. And I would welcome any ideas for a future webinar. If you have any ideas, there's my name, my phone number. That's my cell, because God knows when I'll get back in the office.
Thank you so much for having me. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to email me, call me. You know, I'm available.